Hey everybody, hopefully your week is going well thus far. I'm going to be sharing a couple perspectives from this past week's Maker Study Hall books. The books from this past week were Dare to Lead by Brené Brown, Punching the Air by Zoboi and Yusef Salaam, as well as Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, the graphic novel. For the graphic novel, there were some issues with the app I use called Libby. It was like a method to download the novels, though with the comic it seemed like it didn't load correctly. I'm gonna spend some more time on that novel. For the book by Zoboi and Yusef Salaam, Punching the Air, it's a collection of poems, covers perspective from the community, the individual, as well as family members of somebody that was accused of a crime. It's one of the Central Park 5 persons. The book is put together as a kind of collaboration between Zoboi and Yusef Salaam. Hopefully I'm pronouncing their names correctly. It's a kind of perspective on the journeys of Black people that are brought into or have to go through the justice system or criminal reform system. There's a lot around the early days of Amal and how he was raised, as well as the dynamics of his neighborhood. The main character is named Amal, and the book discusses various segments and poems how he connects with his family, how he was brought up, his life in school, as well as just how the events unfolded that led to his court case and incarceration, as well as the kind of deference that he had to embody upon going to prison. There's a lot of descriptive elements and rhythm in the verses. There's also a lot of wordplay in terms of the use of repetition and specific kinds of orderings for the poems, in terms of how specific segments are revisited. As various events unfold for Amal, as well as his family and friends, and the other person that was affected by the fight that led to his incarceration. I think there's a lot around just the distance felt within a neighborhood in terms of just how you can be outcast or put in a certain clique based on your performance in school or your role amongst certain friend groups, and just the kind of family structure that you have. I think just the development of friendships within the detention facility or the place in which he served time kind of shows another kind of community, which speaks to the broader trends of institutionalization and how when many people get introduced to criminal reform systems, they end up staying locked within those systems because the neighborhoods and communities and economies of which they were a part before they were incarcerated effectively exclude them from subsequent participation. I enjoyed the book. I think there's a lot of vivid imagery around what the prison justice system or the prison system has become, and just the role it serves or is serving society currently, and just what it would look like for justice to be more level-handed. Most of the book is spent on the time served, and I think it sheds a light on just the routines within incarceration systems and just the world behind bars, in a sense. I think just having more ways to avoid the disconnection that arises between communities and those that are in the criminal reform system would definitely be a form of catharsis, as well as just overall community reformation, which would be very much needed. I think the Conversations with God collection of poems spread throughout the book are among my favorites. Just the way that they're structured and the perspective that they take and that they share is definitely enlightening. The next book is called Dare to Lead by Brené Brown. Covers different points about how to engage in more wholehearted leadership or more courageous leadership. I think there's like a specific kind of focus throughout the book in terms of highlighting the ways that the author has been able to grow through the various consultations, teaching opportunities or teaching roles that she's filled, and various case studies that she mentions. The book is broken up into 4 parts. First part is called Rumbling with Vulnerability. The second part is called Living into Our Values. The third part is called Braving Trust. And the fourth part is called Learning to Rise. Throughout each section, there are various collections of recommendations and approaches for being more open-hearted and engaging more fully with teams to allow for people to feel invested in the work that's being done. Within the first part, there's multiple sections. Section 1 is the moment and the myths. Section 2 is the call to courage. The third section is the armory. And the fourth section is shame and empathy. I think a lot of the examples focus on the distilled knowledge of what she feels has been effective in terms of just the cases in which the changes implemented had the largest effect, and just the ways that the teams came together after implementing those changes, and how the team members felt overall afterwards, or rather after the changes were implemented. I think there's a lot of awareness as well within the book in terms of just the opinions and statistics that she shares, the ability to highlight that they're coming from a specific perspective or experience, and that the statistics are within a certain region or demographic is also valuable in terms of being able to add like a kind of scope to the lessons and recommendations that are offered. There's a lot throughout the book that can be used for anybody that's leading a team or that wants to improve the cohesion between themselves and their coworkers, and it would be a good novel to dive in, and there's online resources that can be explored as well. Hopefully you got to enjoy these books. Another book that was also interesting was called The New Masters. It's by a author named Shobo. Wasn't on this week's reading, but it's another graphic novel. It's a lot of sci-fi as well, similar to the graphic novel Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. I think there was a lot around just the tides of rebellion and how people try to make change. The artwork was very slick in a way. It's nice. I think there was like a lot of sections or parts of the artwork that seemed like kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy or other fast-paced group kind of films and productions. Be good to hear any recommendations you have as well in terms of comics or other graphic novels that you've enjoyed. That's all for this past week's recommended books from Maker Study Hall. Those books were Dare to Lead by Brené Brown, Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, the graphic novel, and Punching the Air by Zoboi and Yusef Salaam. Rather, Punching the Air by Zoboi and Yusef Salaam. Have a great day, everybody.